So on slide number 27, statement of the example problem 14.5. It is copied from your reference book. A good example which can help you to understand approximate method of design of column under bigliding. So in the statement it is given that select a square tied column. So you are asked to design a square column rather than rectangular. Square tied column and cross section will resist 160 tons of axial force. Ultimate demand is given along with biaxial movements about x and y axis 95 and 110 kilonewton meter respectively. Column is under reasonable biaxial demand, and FC prime and Fy is also selected. So as I said earlier, if you are the designer, it is your task to fix these material strengths because you need to do all this selection as a consultant, as a designer, and even the analysis will also be your headache, your responsibility. So such kind of bookish questions are rarely asked in practical life, that you are given with a load and movements, but in your final year, in your 8th semester or in DOS, in your one of your subject, you may get opportunity to first analyze a building and then apply all these design steps to design the elements starting from footings to columns and then beams and slabs. But first you need to analyze that building. You need to get these PU and MUX and MUY. So all analysis subjects you need as a background to carry out a comprehensive analysis and design of a building, whether it is small building or a multi-story large building. So this statement is given just to give you understanding of a element design, which is the column design. So analysis part is already carried out, and furthermore clear cover is also recommended, and you have to actually decide this cover after checking the recommendations of HCI, that for sheltered columns what covers are important, and actually all these decisions will be taken by you, and every dimension matters because such dimensions are marked on the drawings and will be finally executed. So there is nothing hypothetical in these statements. Every dimension will be implemented actually at site. And it is further stated, use following two methods, equivalent uniaxial and reciprocal. If there is no such restriction, I suggest that you even go for method of superposition, which is rather simple method, because with that method, what you need to do is first design this column for PU 1600 and MUX. Consult any picture. First decide what will be the gamma for this square column, and consult a picture with FC prime 20 and Fy 300 and get the reinforcement ratio. Then again calculate the reinforcement ratio for 1600 and MUY 110, and then later on add them up. So method of superposition means you need to simply deal separately both movements and get their corresponding demands and add them up. So that method is very simple. Extension of your design of column under uniaxial bending. Here I will first take up equivalent uniaxial eccentricity method, which I think is method new for you because here we have some empirical equations which we need to apply to calculate equivalent uniaxial eccentricity. Now, like any other design method, first thing is you need to size the cross section. You need to fix the cross section size. And since it is general recommendation is given square, now how much should be the dimension of the column? You need to decide this. And I have shared with you this approximate equation in your PRC1 for tied column and for spiral column as well. Now here, since we have a biaxially loaded column in numerator, both moments MUX and MUY are present along with the axial load and I will be calculating based on this equation what is the gross area required, and this gross area requirement I will keep in mind with reference to square tied column. I will take then under root of it to get the trial or the proposed cross section. One thing is important, that when you put MUX and MUY in this equation, if the MUX and MUY are in kilonewton meter and load is in kilonewton, you need to convert them into Newton. So load in Newton and movements in Newton meter. So in this way, you will have the consistency of units fulfilled as per arrangement of this equation, and in denominator, your strength of materials should be in megapascal. So if this will be your way of input, you will get answer in millimeter scale. So some students, they put 10 raised power 6 over here along with the loads and movements to convert the movement into Newton millimeter. So that is wrong and you will not get the right answer. So you need to only to convert force into Newton, force unit kilonewton into Newton. Now in this case, when you take under root of it, you may get the size around 425 or 426. So here the trial size selected is 18 inch by 18 inch. So as it is a proposed a trial equation, it is just a proposal. So you have the liberty, you can round up or round down. But while selecting the cross section, be careful, the size you should select should be practicable, a commonly applied size. As I said, in Pakistan, multiple of 75, 15 inch, 18 inch, or 375 millimeter, 450 millimeter, 1 feet, 21 inch, or 525 millimeter, and then 24 inch or 600 millimeter. They are very common sizes. So in this selected 18 inch by 18 inch or 450 by 450, first thing is, since we want to consult the design aids, we need to calculate the gamma. Since column is square, gamma along x-axis will be equal to gamma along y-axis since column is square. So for gamma estimation, we need to subtract from either side ties dia, cover, and the corner bar, half from either side. Assume corner bar is number 25. So 12.5 from either side gives me gamma 0.72. So I have one impression here that since available pictures are in gamma 0.6 and 0.75, so I need to either select a gamma of lower picture, a gamma of the value lower than this, maybe 0.6, but since 0.6 is too far from 0.72, but the other gamma 0.75 is less conservative, so preferably I will be doing interpolation, linear interpolation after consulting two pictures, one of gamma 0.6 and other of gamma 0.75. Then since I have in mind equivalent uniaxial eccentricity, so I need to convert the demand into eccentricity. So MUy over PU will give me EX, and the given MUX over PU will give me EY. So actual eccentricity along x-axis is 68.8 and along y-axis 59.4. Condition was that if EX over B is greater than or at least equal to EY over H, then E naught X will be applicable. So in this case, we have this condition fulfilled because column is square, B and H are same, and EX is greater than EY. So I should call equation of E naught X, which was EX plus alpha times EY over H into B. Since B and H are equal, so they will cancel each other. So it is simply EX plus alpha times EY. Now for alpha, there was a recommendation that calculate PU over gross capacity of the column considering concrete only. And if this is less than 0.4 or maximum equal to 0.4, which in our case is okay that our ratio is less than 0.4, then alpha will be based on this equation and the result should not be less than 0.6. So in our case, the answer is greater than 0.6. So we have no objection. We can put alpha here and along with that EY. And since both B and H are cancelling each other, so exaggerated equivalent uniaxial eccentricity is 113.1 millimeter. So actual was 68.8. Now this will be multiplied with the ultimate axial force.
Sir,
Yes, please. जी
सर पॉइंट से कम आ जाए तो फिर हम क्या करेंगे?
किससे कम आ जाए?
पॉइंट
हाँ,
से अगर
मैंने बताया ना कि
आ जाए
जी अगर ये तो हम स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड 0.6 ही सिलेक्ट करेंगे. ये हमने पीछे थ्योरी में पढ़ा है ना कि इफ देन यू हैव टू सेलेक्ट 0.6.
ओके सर.
अगर वो रेशियो कम आती तो सेकंड अल्फा की तरफ जाना. So this is what our equivalent eccentricity is. Now keep in mind that you are multiplying PU with E naught X. So actually you are getting here ultimate movement, equivalent movement about y-axis. It is actually mu not y. So although it is written m not y, but actually we are doing ultimate stand design and we are applying pu with the E naught x. So this 180.98 kilonewton actually is the ultimate uniaxial movement theoretically calculated. Now this mu naught y and pu will be kept in mind, and pictures with different gammas will be consulted. Since we have two pictures, since we have two pictures, one of gamma point 6 and other of gamma point 75, and for such pictures you remember that we need to divide load with area gross and movement, which was mu naught y, with area gross h, and we are getting 7.9 as ordinate and 2 megapascal as abscissa. So first I will go to point 6 picture with these ordinates and abscissa. 7.9 versus 2. So I will be somewhere over here. So in between 2 and 2.5%. So very accurately, if I judge on this curve, on this graph, it is suggested here 2.3%. So you need 6 by 6 eyesight to very accurately locate yourself. Then comes the other picture, gamma 0.75, 7.9 versus 2. 7.9 versus 2. So somewhere over here, it is again 1.5 and 2% curves, and I'm close to 2%. So here recommended is 1.8. Now option is either I will select 2.3% and final my sketch, but that will be too conservative, uneconomical. If I select 1.8%, it will be unsafe because my gamma actually is 0.72. So here they have preferred linear interpolation. So selecting gamma 0.75 outcome as base value, and then taking difference of gamma 0.75 minus 0.6 as 0.15, and taking difference of two reinforcement ratios as 0.005, and taking ratio of them to calculate rate of change or slope, multiplied with the gap between two pictures, which is 0.75 minus 0.72, and then adding up in the base value is giving me the answer 1.9. So why you have selected plus over here? Be careful. You need to examine the trend, because between 0.6 and 0.75 reinforcement ratio is decreasing. So it is actually increasing from 0.75 towards 0.6, because less gamma will demand more steel because lever arm is reduced. So since you are moving towards 0.6, because 0.72 is less than 0.75, so plus is selected here because you know that your answer will be greater than 1.8%, and so is your calculations are supporting you. If you will select over here 0.6 as the base value rather than 0.018, you will select 0.023. Then you will use minus sign over here, but then the gap will be between 0.6 and 0.72. So then you actually will be calculating 0.72 minus 0.6 into this rate of change, and you will subtract it from 0.023 to get to that 0.72 gamma. So this is just linear interpolation, and I think you are expert in this linear interpolation uh, steps. So in this way, this total reinforcement ratio in this column comes out to be 1.9%. When I consult the design charts, reinforcement bars, nominal areas available, and I have decided to select 8 number 25 bars. So 8 into 510, because 125 bar has nominal area 510, it gives me the area 4080 with my selected 8 number 25. So 4080 is little higher than the actual demand, but I'm happy with that, because if I take the difference and take the how much percentage it is higher than the required, I will get little round up, which is quite acceptable. And when I now calculate that in actual column, what is reinforcement ratio, I should divide this this selected 4080 with 450 square, and I get that in actual column reinforcement ratio is 2%. Although my calculations are 1.9, but nominal charts, nominal sizes tells me that with 825 you will get 2% steel. So it is satisfactory decision. Now the detailing, I will have 4 corner bars and 4 edge bars. If the clear gap between the bars is greater than 150, then I have to put one additional tie for the edge bars. If this clear gap is greater than 150, so you need to check that whether only one tie will be sufficient or the internal tie to engage the edge bars will also be required. So out of 450, you will subtract covers 40-40 from either side, then 10 millimeter ties, then 325, then there are two gaps. So once you calculate the clear gap, if it exceeds 150, then this internal tie will be mandatory. If it does not exceed 150, then this internal tie you can remove. So this detailed sketch is important. I already mentioned in the class that these calculations, although they are important, but if you can't sketch your column properly, then it means you are not a good designer, because at site your sketch will be implemented rather your calculations. So without sketching appropriately, you can't become a good designer. So try to sketch this column with all the recommendations of ACI, and also design the ties and their spacing. As we have the 3 recommendations of ACI: 48 times the dia of tie, 16 times the dia of longitudinal bar, least lateral dimension. So all these recommendations, keep them in mind, and then design the ties and sketch this column appropriately. And
सर
share it with me.
सर अगर ये रेक्टेंगुलर कॉलम हो और एक साइड पे जो स्पेसिंग है वो 150 से कम हो और दूसरी साइड पे स्पेसिंग 150 से ज्यादा हो, तो हम टाई कैसे देंगे?
ये मैंने क्लास में बताया था ना, आप फिर मैं भी ड्रा कर देता हूँ।
यस सर,
फिर
ड्रॉ
हम
कर
एक
दें।
टाई, जी हम एक टाई बना देते हैं। आप जो भी बात कर रहे हो वो कुछ इस तरह की लगती है।
यस सर।
कि इधर तो आप कहते हो कि जी शैलो डायमेंशन जो है वहां पर तो ऑलरेडी, तो आप इस तरह अपोजिट फेसेस पे भी बार्स को एक टाई से एंगेज कर सकते हैं, रादर देन putting a complete tie inside and making the included angle obtuse। आपको याद होगा मैंने कहा था 135 से बड़ा एंगल नहीं होना चाहिए। तो बाज़ औक़ात हमें इस तरह के जो रेक्टेंगुलर कॉलम हैं उसमें इस तरह की एक टाई देकर हम अपनी रिक्वायरमेंट को पूरा कर लेते हैं। अभी इस तरह के भी कॉलम हो सकता है कि इधर तो आपको अलाउड था कि आप एक बार स्किप कर सकते हैं शॉर्टर एज के लॉन्ग, ये अब वाइडर है तो इसको आप ऐसे पकड़ सकते हैं इस तरह। तो अगर आप इस तरह की टाई डालेंगे ये वाली, अब मैं ड्रा कर रहा हूँ, तो ये इंक्लूडेड एंगल 135 से बड़ा हो जाए जो अलाउड नहीं। यू गॉट माई पॉइंट?
यस सर। सही, तो दो
ये
टाइज
आप
दे दी हैं।
ये दो टाइज दी हैं, एक जो है रेक्टेंगुलर which is enveloping all the bars, or one tie is just one single leg which is engaging two opposite edge bars। इसको हम क्रॉस टाई भी कह लेते हैं। ये जो स्केच अब पीछे बच गया है ये ही अप्रोप्रिएट स्केच है। एग्रीड?
यस सर।
इसके कुछ स्केचेस मैंने बताया था आपको, मैकग्रेगर में भी देखें, ज़ैड सिद्दीकी सर की बुक में चेक करें, बहुत सारे आपको एशियाई कोड में स्केच मिलेंगे विच आर हेल्पफुल फॉर यू। मुख्तलिफ वेबसाइट्स एक्सप्लोर किया करें गूगल पर इमेजेस के अंदर, तो आपको बहुत एशियाई रिकमेंडेशंस के मुताबिक कॉलम डिटेलिंग की बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन मिलेगी। Now comes the second question, second part of the question, which is actually to apply reciprocal load method. Now, as I said earlier, that reciprocal load method is a review technique. It's not a direct design method. So just assume that you have not designed this column earlier by equivalent uniaxial eccentricity method, and you are questioned directly that select a square tight column with this given data and use reciprocal load method only. Then what will be your flow chart? If earlier you have not done equivalent uniaxial eccentricity method and you have no idea that finally column will have 2% steel and it has 825 bars, it will be 450 by 450, and you are starting with reciprocal load method, then again your first step will be to tentatively size your column. So the same equation which we earlier applied for equivalent uniaxial eccentricity method you will call, and you will calculate area gross trial, and probably you will get, you may fix 450 by 450 and you will decide gamma 0.72. So up to this step you will do the calculation. Now since it is reciprocal load method, not just calculation of gamma and sizing it to 450 by 450, reciprocal load method will also demand that tentatively select some reinforcement ratio and sketch your column accordingly, and for that column calculate the capacity. If that capacity will be bigger than 1600 kilonewton, then your selected cross section will be okay. If your tentatively selected cross section and reinforcement ratio gives you a capacity less than 1600, then you need to revise it with a new cross-section size or with higher reinforcement ratio, depending on what answer, whether answer is on the lower side or on the higher side. So luckily here in this example problem, we have just solved the problem with a direct design technique, although that was approximate technique, which is approximate method equivalent uniaxial eccentricity. But we are well aware that a column 450 by 450 with A25 has been selected based on one approximate method, and that method limitations are fulfilled, and we are quite sure that the earlier design the opportunity to validate the same column with the review technique, which is reciprocal load method. But in exam or in your other academic practical problems, it is not possible. Always you are blessed with this pre-information that this column by other method has this answer, and now let's review it by the second method. And you may not be having sufficient time to do that in exam, that first you will design it by equivalent uniaxial eccentricity and then you will review it by reciprocal. So you need to be little judgmental based on your experience that what size you should select to start your to start your design. So so in this way we have the two options, that once you are in this approximate method, I recommend you to start your problem, always start with 2% reinforcement ratio. For example, if you have selected 450 by 450 and first conceive based on your experience that whether I should try with 8 bars. So if 8, let's assume that 4 corner bars number 25 and then 4 edge bars number 19. So this is one option, that you selected 8 bars but 419 and 425. Then reinforcement ratio, it may be 1.5%. Then against that selected cross section, evaluate that your column can take this 1600 kilonewton biaxial demand. If yes, then your tentatively selected cross section is okay. If no, then you need to re-examine that whether 8, now increasing the cross section, let's now have 8 number 25 or 8 number 32. So in this way you will keep on iterating until you converge to a safe design which gives you the ultimate capacity more than the demand. So in this way, here since we have already solved this problem with 8 number 25, so I am selecting the same column and I am applying the reciprocal load on it. So with this selected cross section 450 by 450 and 8 number 25, what first step will be that assume on this column there is only uniaxial movement MUI is present and the axial load, which is ultimate axial load given. So MUI given was 110 Normalize it with area gross H, because we want to consult the design aids for short columns under uniaxial bending. So I am first dividing MUY given with AGH and PU given with AG to get the abscissa and ordinates for my short column pictures. Now I will keep 7.9 versus 1.21 in mind, and I will go to first the picture which available is for gamma 0.6. So 7.9 versus 1.21. So I will be somewhere on this point shown with red color dot. I will join this point with the origin. Now, since I have idea that this column is subjected to only uniaxial bending MUY as I have decided, and this column has 2% reinforcement ratio, I will extend this line until it intersects 2% curve. Once it intersects 2% curve, corresponding to that, I will look on vertical axis what axial load this column can take when only uniaxial movement MUY was present, and its value I will record. जो हमने किया था वैसे ही चलो. So in this way, we will check that against this gamma 0.6 on vertical axis, I am getting corresponding to uniaxial bending MUY only a axial ultimate capacity of 9.8 megapascal. Now the same procedure I will repeat for gamma 0.75 picture. I will locate 7.9 versus 1.21. I will join this with origin. I will extend this line until it touches the 2% curve. Corresponding to that, what is the axial capacity on that column when gamma is 0.75? It is little above 10. So it is selected here 10.2. Since my column has gamma 0.72, I will do linear interpolation. I will take difference between gamma. I will take difference between these two values. I will calculate the rate of change, and then based on that, against gamma 0.72, I can estimate that the axial capacity will be 10.12 megapascal. Now this I will multiply with the area gross to get that axial load on the column which this column can take when only EX was present. The same procedure now I will repeat when only I consider movement about x-axis is present with the axial load 1600 kilonewton. I will do the same calculation for two pictures, gamma 0.6 and gamma 0.75. I will join the points with the origin, extend them until it intersects 2% curve, and for 0.6 picture I am getting 10.6. For 0.75 picture I am getting 10.75. After doing linear interpolation, I get that for gamma 0.72, the axial capacity is 10.72. This is based on linear interpolation between two pictures, and multiplied with area gross gives me axial capacity under uniaxial bending. Now the last point of the Bressler reciprocal load method was to calculate axial capacity P naught. P naught I can calculate from equation 0.85 C prime area gross minus area steel plus area steel into Fy multiplied with 5.65, or I can consult any picture gamma 0.6 or gamma 0.75, and this 2% where it strikes the vertical axis, either it is gamma 0.75 or gamma 0.6 picture, this answer will remain the same because axial capacity is independent of gamma. It will be a stupid answer if I say gamma 0.6 and gamma 0.75 or any other gamma will affect the axial capacity if Fc prime and Fy are same. When Fc prime and Fy and cross section is same, gamma has no effect on axial capacity. Gamma will only affect the movement and load interaction. So from both pictures you will get the same ordinate, which is 14.7 multiplied with area gross to get P naught. Now assemble it in this equation, which was the reciprocal load equation, and we are lucky that reciprocal of it gives me a biaxial capacity higher than my ultimate requirement, which is 1600. So in a way I can confirm that the column designed earlier by equivalent uniaxial eccentricity has been evaluated, and reciprocal load method also satisfies the capacity and column design is appropriate. If this comes out to be less than 1600, then I need to revise this procedure with a new cross section or steel reinforcement higher than the selected earlier. So this is actually a one design problem. So in next lecture we can discuss it again if you find any difficulty in understanding this example, and let me stop the recording. And if you have any question, please go ahead.